So this story takes place a long, long time ago, like mid-century old. Back when people rode camels more than carriages, markets smelled like cardamom and fresh figs, and sultans ruled from big stone palaces with gold domes that caught the sunset just right. There was a city called Sahariyah. Easy to say, Sahariyah. It sat between two rivers and was known for one thing above all, its bread. Yeah, not swords or jewels, bread, but not just any bread, Noori bread. It was soft in the middle, crisp on the outside, and had this warm, glowing taste like fire and honey, and something you couldn't name but never forgot. The bakers of Sahariyah were legends. People traveled for days just to get a bite. And guess what? Only a few knew the recipe. You had to train for years to even touch the special oven. And in this city lived a boy named Tariq. Tariq wasn't rich or royal. His dad was a lantern maker. His mom sold spices in the market. But ever since he was little, he'd stop and watch the bakers. He loved how they moved, like they were dancing with flour and fire. He'd close his eyes and imagine the warm smell filling the whole street. One day, he'd whisper, "I'll make Noori bread too." So when he turned 12, he begged the bakery master to let him train. The old man chuckled but saw something in Tariq's eyes. "You'll start with wood chopping," he said. "Let's see how long you last." Well, it didn't go great. The axe was way too heavy. Tariq could barely lift it, and when he did, it wobbled sideways and got stuck in the dirt. His hands got blistered by the second day. And stacking the wood? He knocked over the whole pile twice, then tripped on a log and fell into a basket of flour. Total mess. And when it finally came time to light the oven fire, he got nervous and threw on way too much wood. The flame choked, the room filled with smoke, and the master baker just shook his head and opened the windows. Tariq sat outside that night, covered in soot and flour, coughing a little and trying not to cry. "Maybe I'm not meant for this," he whispered. That evening, Tariq sat on the stone steps behind the bakery, arms resting on his knees, his face still smudged with flour and smoke. The sky was turning deep purple, and a few stars were just beginning to blink awake. He let out a long sigh. "Maybe I'm not meant for this," he muttered. "Maybe I'm just supposed to sell lanterns like Baba." His chest felt heavy. He had blisters on his palms, sore arms, and the dough he tried to knead earlier was still sitting in the trash, too tough to rise. Just then, someone sat down beside him. It was Uncle Rafi, the old spice merchant who ran the stall next to his mother's. Tariq had known him his whole life. He always smelled like cinnamon and spoke with a smile tucked behind his gray beard. "Rough day?" Uncle Rafi asked. Tariq didn't answer at first. He just gave a small nod and looked down at his dirty sandals. "You know," the old man said, "when I first started grinding spices, I dropped the entire week's worth of cardamom into the gutter." Tariq blinked. "Seriously?" "Every last pod. I cried harder than you believe. Thought about giving up and going back to picking dates. But your mother came by that night and gave me a spoonful of her lentil stew. She said, 'Spices need time to learn how to blend. So do people.'" Tariq gave a little laugh through his nose. "You think I can really learn this?" Uncle Rafi looked him straight in the eye. "You're not failing, boy. You're starting. And that's the part no one talks about, the part where everything's messy and you want to quit. If you keep showing up, the oven will teach you. Just like my mistake taught me." He patted Tariq on the back, stood up, and tossed him a small cloth. Inside was a warm piece of flatbread with a pinch of saffron sugar on top. "Eat that, then go rest. Come back tomorrow and mess up again. That's how it works." And so, the next day, Tariq did come back. He practiced longer, asked better questions. Stopped trying to be perfect and just tried to learn. Slowly, he got better. His dough didn't tear anymore. His fire didn't smoke. He even caught the bakery cat once before it knocked over a whole tray of eggs. Weeks turned into months. He began to feel the rhythm, the way heat and flour and time all had their own language. Then one day, almost a full year later, the bakery master gave him the nod. "Tomorrow you'll bake your first real loaf of Noori bread." Tariq barely slept. His hands shook as he worked. He remembered everything he was taught: how to fold the dough gently, how to wake the yeast with a whisper of warmth, how to shape the loaf like a gift. When the bread came out, golden and steaming, the whole room went quiet. The master took a bite, chewed slowly, then said, "It glows, just like it should." Tariq grinned wider than he ever had before. His hands still ached, but this time he didn't care. Moral of the story? Starting is the hardest part. You're going to mess up a lot. But if you keep showing up, day after day, loaf after loaf, eventually, you'll make something that glows.